Welcome to Financial Investing Radio, where you'll learn the secrets for consistent, high-probability returns in the financial markets for additional income to change your life. Grant applies consistent, high-probability trading systems for the financial markets. He's only recently started sharing these tried and true market secrets. As a gift to listeners, Grant is offering his roadmap to high-probability financial control. Go to financialinvestingradio.com and download yours today. Now, here's your host and trading veteran, Grant Larson.
Hey everybody, this is Grant. Thank you for joining. So I was thinking back about a song that I knew many years ago. It was sung by a group called Jefferson Starship. It was called Jane. Some of you probably remember that. So some of the words in the song went, "Jane, you're playing for fun, but I play for keeps." Something like that. At least I think that's the words it says. All right. I actually believe the market is like that, right? Meaning you can't approach the market like it's for fun, right? At some point, the market, will play for keeps, and it's going to take our investment or our trade, and we're going to get whacked, all right? So I do a stock report for a trading community called Tackle Trading. You ought to check them out. Anyway, there are a set of criteria I walk through to evaluate the stock opportunities. Now, while there are many criteria one should look through, I'm not going to list all of those here, but here's a few critical ones to think about when you're looking for an opportunity to either make a short-term or a long-term investment or trade. So number one, you ready? So use well-used, or establish, I should say, well-used moving averages. Now, the reason why this is important is because you want to see the common areas where other traders or investors are making decisions. Now, that's key. On every investment that you or trade that you make, someone's taking the other side of that investment or that trade. And what you want to think about is, what do they see that you don't? What is it that's causing them to take the other side of the investment or the other side of the trade? So the real question is what else do you need to be considering to build your confidence in your position? So take a moment to evaluate the other side of the investment or the trade and what they are considering. This can really help you a lot. But it's helpful to be in areas where there's typically a lot of decision making going on. And different moving averages are of course used by different people. But now, some of this has to do with how you view your participation level in the market. So if you consider that you're, say, a short-term trader, then you watch these moving averages very closely, right? You're interacting with them a lot. But if you're a longer-term investor, you're still going to use them, but your frequency is certainly not at the same level. So what moving averages do you use, right? I suggest that you have 3 moving averages, and that at least 3, but start with 3. You don't want to get it too messy, but start with 3. They're at different levels of moving averages. They help you to see, obviously, when there's trending in a certain direction and so forth. All right, number 2. All right, so we're talking about things to evaluate when you're looking for a stock opportunity. I don't care how you're trading it, if you're trading with options or you're buying the stock or you're doing something else like futures, doesn't matter. The thing is, whatever the instrument is, right, have 3 moving averages. All right, here's the second thing when you're looking for an opportunity, and that is to identify multiple time frames to view the instrument that you're investing in or trading in. And once again, the time frames that you're going to use will vary based on the kind of investor or trader you are. But here's a really important tip, okay? Create moving averages on your charts that represent different time frames. That has made all the difference for me. Does that make sense? Now think about what I'm saying. Create moving averages on your charts that represent different time frames. If you want to know more about that, reach out to me. The problem is sometimes charts can get so busy, but it's also difficult to get a cohesive view. So create a cohesive view on your chart, and it will be a positive impact for you. Now, much of this will require that you train your eyes to recognize opportunities. See, over the years, one of the things I've learned is that it is the discipline to the system is more often important than the system itself. Let me say it one more time. The discipline to the system that you're using to make investing or trading decisions more often is important than the system itself. So in other words, let me say it the other way. How do you or I act when we execute our system? We may say, hey, we've got the most brilliant system for making investing or trading decisions, but if we can't execute and stick with that system, then that, of course, doesn't help us at all. This is the more critical part of financial investing. Ask yourself this question. What rationale do you or I use to justify breaking a rule in your system? How many times have you done that, right? Yes, I've got a system. I can see all the points where if I buy here or I short it there, man, I'm going to make all this money. But when it comes right down to it, at the moment of the execution, and you're making an investing decision on the hard right edge of the chart, how often do we break our rule, right? And that's critical. One time I was hiking in the mountains. I was with a group of people, but we decided to split up and check out different parts of the mountain. We each had a GPS, and we had saved the pin or the location of our camp. So as night approached, I decided to start heading back. Now, it was a full moon. I had plenty of food and water. I even had some shelter that I could create if needed. There was snow on the ground, and the mountain was quiet, almost too quiet. The wind had stopped. It was really, really quiet. A little eerie, but also incredibly beautiful. Now, I started back, and it was dark now, other than the light of the moon. But I was using my GPS to guide me back. However, with the light of the moon, I could also see the contour of the mountain, and it sloped down to the left of me, and so did the trail that I was on. But eventually, I got to a point where my GPS was telling me to go to the right, but my eyes and my brain were telling me to go to the left. And I had an internal battle regarding which way to go. I literally had to stop and force myself to say, wait a minute. My brain and my eyes are saying I should follow this down to the left, but in fact, I should follow my system and go to the right. Well, ultimately, I ended up using my instruments, using my system, and ended up going to the right. And, of course, it was obviously the right thing to do. But I haven't always followed my system, right? I've made those human mistakes where my eyes, my brain say one thing, the system says, don't do it, but what do you know, right? You make those mistakes. I'm grateful that I did use the system such as the GPS in that location and that time right there. But our investing and trading systems need to be followed. Even when we have some indication, our eyes and our brains telling us that it's going another direction. All right, so that's number 2. So let me recap. 3 criteria I'm going to mention here when you're making your selections for an opportunity. 1, establish well-used moving averages. 2, identify multiple time frames to view the instrument you're investing or trading in, and look at it in those different time frames, and stick with the system, right? 3, find some way to represent momentum. All right, and there's multiple ways to do that, but it's critical to have a representation of momentum on your charts, regardless of the kind of investor or trader that you are. See, sometimes short-term momentum can mess with our minds, and we get suckered into a position. So please note that all of these items are to be taken together. In other words, the moving averages, the multiple time frames, the momentum, you should be looking at those across multiple time frames. In other words, you want confluence, right? You want them to work together. So to recap, when it's time to choose an opportunity for an investment or trading, evaluate moving averages, evaluate multiple time frames and price action on the multiple time frames, and evaluate the momentum on those multiple time frames as well. Well, the market plays for keeps, just like Jefferson Starship said in their song Jane, right? Jane was playing for fun, but hey, Jefferson Starship, they're playing for keeps. So don't play for fun with your money, right? Get a system and stick with it. Consider the kinds of criteria I'd mentioned: moving averages, multiple time frames, and momentum. And stick with those, right? And there are other things to consider too. Hey, thanks for joining. Until next time, stick with your system.
Thank you for joining Grant on Financial Investing Radio. Remember to subscribe and leave feedback. Don't forget to download your free roadmap to high probability financial control before you make an investment decision. Visit financialinvestingradio.com now.